Hi, my name's Phil from 4thirty and welcome to my channel and welcome to part 1 of my Ferrari build. Let's go! Videos like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on, and if you do like it then give me that thumbs up. Let's begin. So here we go, the build begins. This is the donor car I'll be using. It's a 2003 Mark III MR2 Roadster. All in all, in very good condition for its age. We begin by removing the body panels, and firstly we remove the bonnet. This is fairly easy, just 4 nuts, 2 each side. I'm then going to remove the rear engine cover, but to do this I need to remove this panel that's pointed to by the arrow, because underneath there is the high level brake lights. Once you've got that off, you can then disconnect this plug here and remove the high level brake light easily. This is the high level brake light itself. So that is sellable on eBay, so don't throw any of these parts away. And there is the rear deck lid removed. I then decided to remove the rear lights, which was quite simple, and again these rear lights can be sold on eBay. So next I decided to remove the rear bumper, but to do this you have to remove the rear wheel arch linings, and I've never seen so many clips and bolts holding a piece of plastic in place, but it does eventually come off, and when you've got this off you can then remove the bumper quite easily. Now don't forget to remove the rear number plate lights, because you will need these for your kit car. What I also did while I had the bumper, I drew around the cutouts on a piece of cardboard, because you can then use this as a template for when you come to do the cutouts in your new kit car rear bumper. And this is what the car looks like now the rear end has been stripped. So now I turned my attention to the front end, and again to get access to the bolts for the front bumper you will need to remove the front inner wheel arch liners. You can then easily remove the front bumper. After this has now been removed, you now have good access to the bolts to remove the headlights, so those went next. Now to remove the wings, or fenders as they call them in America, you need to really remove all of the plastics in the front and also the window wiper scuttle. The wings themselves then simply unbolt off, first the off side and then the near side. Back now to the rear of the car to remove the rear quarters, and again these simply bolt on apart from 3 rivets underneath the trim in the vicinity of where the arrow is pointing. Just simply drill these out and then the rear quarters should just then remove. Same for both sides. And this is how the rear end looks now it's been stripped down. So I decided the next task now would be to strip the doors and some of the inner parts. So here we see I've removed the door lining, and that was quite easy, just a load of clips as usual. I then peeled back this protective plastic and unclipped and removed the speakers, as I'm going to be using them in the kit car when it's completed. Next I then removed the B-pillar plastic, so that would give me access to the plastics and parts above the storage boxes, which was also removed. Now brings us on to the trimming of the door panels, and here I'm going to use clips from the original build video just to illustrate this. Here you can see the panel fully marked up. And this is how we get those markings. So we start with the top part of the door, the top right, and we measure 40mm inwards to the left from the top right edge of that door. We then measure 50mm up from the body crease line, as can be seen here, and that is going to be your parallel line going across to the left of the door. Then locate where the wing mirror used to fit and measure 10mm from the bottom part of that, and use that little line there to connect up with the line from the previous measurement. You can now use your angle grinder to cut this piece off and peel it up and remove it from the car. You can then cut off the door mirror carrying bracket, because that is no longer needed. You need to mark the front edge of the door like shown here, and then cut this off, as again this part is not needed. Next, mark up the door inner skin as shown here, and then again using the angle grinder remove this. Now if you are using the door cards, which I advise you do because I did and they're excellent, then you'll need to fold over this part of the inside of the door, which is from the finger there to the nut on the left. This fold can now be seen clearly in the next 2 pictures. And here's what it looks like on my car. So first I marked and cut off the outer skin, and then the inner skin. And as I will be using the replica door cards, I then folded over this part of the inside of the door. I then cleaned up all the exposed edges from the cuts and folds, and then hammer-righted them to stop any rust coming through. So I decided to do a bit of a different job here. So what I'm going to do now is to remove the precats. So what you need to do is remove the exhaust manifold, or headers as they're known in America, and basically just with a big long screwdriver hack out all of the cap material from in there, and obviously use a mask and dispose of it correctly. That should leave you with the exhaust manifold that looks like this, with no cats in it, which will give you a little bit better sound and a little bit more power. So next I got a call from the kit car company saying that my kit is now ready. Woo! So I hired this van and I drove to the company and picked up my kit, as you can see here. So it fits nicely in the back of one of these vans. What you can see here is the actual front bumper and the front clip, and a few other parts as well. And here are the parts unloaded. Sorry I didn't get better pictures of these, but what you can see there on the left is the front clip, and behind that you can just see the bumper. In the middle there is the rear end, and about 2/3 of this car is that piece there. And then to the right you can just see the rear deck lid. You can also see the wheels in the foreground, and in those two green crates are loads and loads and loads of parts and brackets and fake discs, etc, etc. So anyway, after all that excitement, it was back to the build, and I thought I'd have a look at the rear springs for the suspension, which in the kit you get some new lowering springs, so actually shorter springs to replace the original ones that are in the car. So these are quite easy to get off. There's a couple of bolts at the bottom and just the 3 nuts at the top there, and this is the actual units removed from the car. Here you can see the new spring on the left stood next to the original spring on the right, and you can see the difference and how much it's actually going to load the car by. And here is a new spring installed on the original shock and ready to go back into the car. And here is a shock reinstalled back in the car. As you can see here, I've replaced the drop link, so that's a brand new drop link, because taking the old one off it was quite rusted. And I've also used a wax oil based paint to undercoat under there to protect it. I've also used hammerite on any of the other metal parts just to stop them rusting as well. So I now moved on to the front suspension, and as you can see here, this is an actual mess. So I'm going to need to replace that boot as well, which is split. So let's take this apart. So here we can see the full front suspension and the hub has been totally removed. You need to do this for this kit, which you'll see in the next few pictures. And as you can tell, it's quite a mess under there, so I'm going to wax oil all of that and hammerite any of the metal parts. So here are some of the new suspension parts completely fitted to the car. What you can see on the left there is the track rod, and if you look in the middle of it there's an extension piece. So you get this piece and you screw your existing track rod into this, and it extends the track rod as required. Next to that you can see the new wishbone that's supplied in the kit with a new ball joint also supplied in the kit, and these have now been fitted. The new bump stop boots have arrived, a little bit nicer than the original ones that are removed, so I'll get those fitted. And here is the reassembled suspension reinstalled back into the car. You can also probably notice at the bottom of the suspension there is a special bracket. This again is supplied with the kit and alters, I think that alters probably the camber or the angle of the wheels to make them work with the bigger wheels that are also supplied with the kit. For the track rods to work correctly, what you need to do is cut 10mm off the end of the original track rod itself before you then install track rod extenders as shown here. So while the hub was off, I hammerited this as well, just to, well, cleaned it all up first, scraped all the rust off, then hammerited it. But as you can see from this picture, you can see where the hub at the top connections go into the extenders at the bottom of the shock there, that's supplied in the kit. The kit also comes supplied with fake discs, because obviously the MR2 discs and calipers are tiny compared to what a real Ferrari would look like. So here you can see the inner part of the disc, and you need to buy a whole load of nuts and bolts, and we just thread 2 nuts on the back of the bolts like so. You then secure the inner disc to the outer main brake disc with nylock nuts, because obviously you don't want this to come loose while you're driving. And then the finished item looks like this, which is very convincing. Once you'll see later on, we get a replica Ferrari caliper mounted on top of this as well. You'll see that it gives the desired effect. And there we go, that's all the suspension parts completed. I've just slung the original wheels back on for now. You can probably see the fake disc just showing through that rear wheel there. This is just so I can move the car around while I'm working on it if I need to. So there you go, I hope you're enjoying my Ferrari build thread and video, and if you are, then please don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and give me that thumbs up like if you did enjoy it. Till the next time, stay safe.